got this voice in my head.
Right.
For a long time, it felt as if it wasn't in my head. I felt it was an outside force. It's always, for me, it's always been critical about different things, but it seems to have come out of nowhere. Where did that voice come from? Why have I got it? Will it go away, or what?
So the voice is that everybody has, and ultimately what it is that, and I've explained how Freud said from the age of almost 0 to 6 or 5, we get programmed, and so we have to learn about the environment that we're in and how to manage ourselves in the environment. And so then what happens is that instead of, when you're born, no one asks you who you are, everybody begins to tell you who you are. So you never actually, throughout your life, discover who you actually are. So we're programmed with labels. And so we begin to live off labels. So for instance, you'll get given your name and that's your first label. And then people will call you other things like pretty or ugly or stupid or all these things. And where you get them from is not only your environment at home, but when you go to school, you're being programmed again. With like 2 add 2, so it's being recorded. And then all your experiences that you have about yourself, and all the experiences that you experience at home. And because you're never asked about yourself, you then take that on board as if it's your identity. This is who I am. So when you introduce yourself to people, you will tell them your label. And that's what, that's what everybody does. And then everybody believes certain things about themselves because of the way that somebody else has treated them. It doesn't mean it's true, it just means somebody else treated you this way. It doesn't mean that you're that, but that's what we believe. So if somebody treats you bad, you believe that you're bad. Or if somebody treats you well, you believe that, you believe that as well. So that's what we tend to do throughout our lives. And then we take our good enough or better or whatever from these labels. So you'll get a job as you go along in life, and you'll get another label. And so then you can stroke your own ego. You developed the ego then of the chattering voice, of the recording.
So this chattering voice is the ego?
And it's the recording. So we call it the egoic voice. And it's literally a recording of all the events that have happened in your life, the conversations that get recorded, and it plays them back to you. So if you have a certain belief about yourself, it tends to mirror that, and it will play that where you've got it from. But you believe it's you. And with a thought tends to order a feeling. So if you have a thought and a feeling with it, you believe it must be true because I've got a feeling with it. So that must be me. It must be who I am. It still isn't. It's still, so you're buried under what you've been told about yourself. But it's a lie, it's not true.
So your body responds to the message that it's hearing?
Yeah, and then sometimes the body just might feel that way without the message, and then you think, I'm feeling bad, and then you start to search your mind to say, why am I feeling bad? And it'll find a reason. Right. Oh, it's because of that.
So it's trying to match everything up?
So it kind of gives you a match, and so it just does the same thing over and over and over again. So people then start to have an opinion of themselves based on what somebody else gave. So imagine when you learn 2 add 2. Imagine somebody comes along and says, do you know that's not true? That 2 add 2 isn't 4. You'd find it difficult to believe. The only reason that you find it difficult to believe is because there's no electrical neuron connection. So it's like switching your light switch on, it'll come on because all the wires have been put in place. But if we break the wire, the light won't switch on, and that's what, more or less happens in your brain. But then when you learn something new, you kind of disconnect that, and you have a new connection, and then you start believing something new. So, but these things that have been said to you, or what you've experienced growing up, that you think it's your identity or who you are, is because somebody else would have put that in because somebody else did that to them, and somebody else did that to them. And so things that we have in our ego get passed down and down and down. What the ego does as well, it likes to think it's right all the time, and it likes to stroke itself. So it always likes to be above other people. So what happens then in the chattering voice is that, you know, in the world now of consumerism, we've been tapped into the ego. So the ego likes to, it's a want. I want all the time. And you're always ever feeding it. It's your prisoner, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're always feeding it. And so then, you know, the advertisements tell you to get this. And I think in one of them it says people will have phone envy. So of course you're going to go and buy the phone because the ego wants people to envy it. And that's where it does. So you see people's ego when they're walking down the street and they're constantly staring at themselves and they're stroking their ego like this, addressing the hair or whatever, looking at themselves, checking themselves out. They're stroking their own ego, you know, to please it. It's pleasing it. Yeah, you look good. It's telling you all these things. Do that and everybody will watch you. Do this and everybody will do that. And so everybody's crying for attention because they're trying to feed the prisoner their own ego. And you can watch them doing it as well. And it's like that person's doing that. Or somebody might come up with a new saying. And it seems the ego will say, meh. Because that's really good to say that. It's cool. It means that you're cool. So everybody then begins to say it. And it's like, it's cool to just make a noise like that. That's the reality picture, is it? But their ego will tell them it is. Mm-hmm. And so you can pass things on. So we get further and further from being a human being, and we become a human doing the same thing as everybody else is. Mm-hmm. So as a little girl said to me one time, we're sheeple, and so that's what the chattering voice is, and so it becomes what everybody else has told it, and that's what it is. So your chattering voice in your head tells you all kinds of things based on what you're interested in. So what does yours say? How does yours work?
It started off solely being very critical. You know, good, and this is when I'm thinking about the school age, you know, good, you can't do that, everybody's better than you, keep away from people, people are dangerous, people won't like you, don't make friends.
So in that it was right, is that what you're saying? It believes it's right?
Yeah. I totally believe that, and I felt that way and I behaved that way going to school. I went right at the last minute to go into my lesson. As soon as the lesson finished, I went home. I didn't do any mixing with anybody, I didn't do any talking on with anybody.
Could you see the superiority in your ego then? Because it not only felt that it was right, it actually was telling you how other people think.
Yeah, it was telling me that other people thought they were better than me, other people, the teachers thought everybody were better and that I were the lowest of the low. It made me think, it told me that I was thick and I was stupid compared to other people. People wouldn't like me, so I was best off keeping away from them because once they got to know me, they wouldn't like me, so why put yourself through it and just avoid them in the first place? That kind of thing.
Can you see its superiority then in telling you all these things?
Yeah, it was like I know these were a given. There were no wondering or, oh, maybe it's right or wrong. It was a given. I was thick, I was stupid, and I was ugly, and I wouldn't be swayed. I was fixed in that belief. As I got older, that continued. Like at uni, you're thick, you can't do these things, everybody's better than you, you need to learn more, you're going to fail.
Did you?
In a way, yes, because it led to me having a breakdown and trying to kill myself. In a way, no, I passed all my exams and got good reviews in everything and stuff like that.
So if you capture that bit then, the real you couldn't stand the pressure of that, the ego collapsed in itself.
Yeah.
But it had actually lied to you all the time, but you believed it as fresh as a daisy.
Yeah.
So that's what people do. They believe it as fresh as a daisy. It will start to tell you all the things. It will be a liar, but you never go back to it and say, you liar.
No, I sort of felt that, the exam, one of the exams, I thought I was going to fail. I went to my tutor and said, I'm going to have to resit this. You know, I had a blackout in the middle of it. I only did half the stuff and this, that and other. I'm going to have to repeat it again. I didn't fail it, but I didn't go, oh, you liar. I just thought, it's doing it to wind me up. It's doing it to trick me.
So it continues and tells you more lies.
Yeah, it's doing it to trick me because next time when I think I'm all right, it's going to pull the rug from under me.
Yeah.
I was very suspicious of it, but then after that initial sort of like collapse of my world and the depression and everything like that, that's when the voice started changing. And yes, it did have those elements in it, but along with it, it came, you can't eat that, how many calories is in that, you're fat, you don't want to eat that. It just sort of like came out of nowhere. Did that change in the voice? Or I can't recall it happening just one day, it just sort of infiltrated. And it was like, you can't eat that, you've got to keep walking, you can't sit down. And because like when I had anorexia nervosa, it was all about weigh-in and calories. I couldn't even touch certain food because I thought the calories would absorb through my skin. How mad is that? I thought the calories in something would absorb through my skin, so I wouldn't touch food. Or like if I was making a sandwich for anybody and butter got on my skin, it was a nightmare. I couldn't sit down because you burnt less calories when you sat down. I had to be on the move the whole time. This is what that voice was telling me, and it was telling me that that was the right thing to do. Burning calories. When my weight got lower, and when my weight got lower, it was like, yeah, you're not there yet, but you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing.
Who for?
For the voice.
Okay.
It didn't feel as if it was in my head, it felt as if it was some outside power, but I understand now it's that ego that changed. And then
so ultimately you're listening to a recording that plays what you're interested in over and over and over again. So if you were interested in, say, a yellow car, when you go to buy a yellow car, so you want to buy a yellow car, you want to buy anything, then you see how your brain will seek it out.
Yeah.
You will see lots of yellow cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see what it's doing. That whatever you're interested in, it will play it and play it and play it and play it and play it, and then you satisfy it, and then it'll move on to something else that it's interested in. But for you, it's not moved on.
No, and it's not being satisfied. It were always, when my weight was going down and down, it was like, yeah, you've still got to keep going. It were never, I never had that peace. Or, I've settled the voice. It were like, right, you've done good, but you've still got to do better. It was always that could do better. So I was never satisfied.
So it does what it says on the tin, really, does the voice, is imagine it's the creature out of Harry Potter, and it just mutters nasty things all the time, all day long. So it's a recording, but it looks like that, like the creature. So imagine that it's that, and it follows you around. Everybody's got one. Everybody's going round.
See, I didn't know
creature.
everybody had a voice in the head.
Right.
I never told anybody about this voice in my head because I thought it meant I was like mad, or it was like God telling me what to do, or God punishing me for not being a good person. So I never told anybody.
What would they do? What would it say if you did?
I was frightened that it would. I didn't want to upset. It sounds bizarre, but I didn't want to upset the voice. I didn't want to do anything to anger it, or
Why?
or threaten it.
Why? What would happen?
To me, pleasing that voice was the be all and end all of my existence. Everything became at the bottom of the list. I became very self-absorbed in the voice, only thinking about the voice. I didn't care about anybody else. I didn't care about myself. I was a very selfish, horrible person, because the voice and listening to it was my be all and end all of everything.
So what you're saying is that you're saying I was a very selfish and horrible person because I identified myself as the voice.
Yeah.
But you're not.
And excluded everybody else.
Yeah. But you're not the voice.
No, I didn't. At the time, even though I thought it was an outside voice, it was still me. It was very complicated how I explained it to myself, but it just felt I was still driven to please the voice, do what the voice said, regardless of anything else.
So what do you think to knowing that that's what everyone does? They listen to their egoic voice. When you see people say, you go out and you watch people and you see that they're in their head, listening, having a conversation. They're not even having the conversation, the ego's having a conversation with itself. And they think that they're it. But realistically, the things that are said in your voice, would you say, tomorrow morning when I get up, I'm going to say all these evil things to myself?
No.
So then how can it be you? How can that be you if you would never say those things to yourself? And if you were saying those things to yourself, would you say them to someone else?
No.
So then how can
I'd never say the things that are in my head or what I thought the voice was telling me, I would never say to anybody else because they're horrible.
But then can you say, actually you would? Because what you said is that I was so selfish into the voice that impacted on your environment. You know, if somebody has anger or aggression or hatred or nastiness inside of in their head, in the egoic voice, then that's what's going to come out of their mouth towards another person.
Yeah.
So that's what came out of everybody's mouth towards you as a child. So that's what comes out of the adult towards the child or anybody else. Not that you'd say, logically, you'd say, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't say that. But actually you do, and then when people get caught up on that and somebody might question it, they'll get their ego gets angry because you're actually questioning it.
I understand now.
Yeah, and sorry, just let me finish that. So then what I'm saying is, you knew when you said your ego, you didn't want to anger it, did you? So you did what it said, and that's what society does sometimes with itself, with each other, is that people know without words not to say something or challenge somebody's behaviour because they know that their ego is going to get angry with them. So then the person with the ego doesn't always recognise their behaviours like that because nobody, challenges it. And even if they do challenge them, their ego will make excuses up for itself or make itself into the victim. And so that's what the ego does. That's the problem for everybody is that it's not the outside world. Everybody blames it onto the out. If they stop doing that, if they stop doing that, it's like, but nobody actually says if only the ego stops. And that's the point. The problem is for people is listening to the voice in their head is causing them all the problems that they have. Unless somebody else is doing something outside physically, that's what's causing their problems. Because, and that's the problem that was put into people in the first place. So for you, how do you view your ego now?
It still says the same things, but the volume can be very different. Sometimes it can be just chattering away and saying the same things, and I can, it's quite low level, and I can hear it and go, right, oh look what it's saying again, it's going on about calories again.
So you're separating yourself from it?
Yeah, okay. I can hear it, and it's like, it's saying same things again, it's saying the calories, and it's I've had my calories up today about 14 times. I think it's going to change, or I know how many calories is in a curly whirly. I don't need to check the packet every time, and things like that.
And do you check the packet every time?
Yeah.
Does it get you to do the action?
Yeah, and I go, oh, blooming heck, I've just done it again.
Yeah.
And then my voice goes, well, they might change it one day, and then you might get caught out. So
that's the
my
ego.
voice has got an answer to everything.
Yeah, because the ego chatters to itself. So even when it chatters nice things or reasonable things, you think, oh, that bit must be me, and it's not. It's all the ego.
Oh no, it has a conversation with itself. Oh, I want to add these calories up again. No, you don't need, because you've already had them up 14 times today. But I want just in case I got it wrong. And I can hear it having a little chatter.
Right.
Sometimes it's that loud. I'm right in there. I'm right in it. I can't say I'm oblivious to everything. I've been out for a walk and I've been listening to the voice and being in it and joining in with it that many times. I've walked into trees, I've walked into people. It's just I don't see things because I'm too busy in the voice.
So can you see then that if you have the voice and everybody has the voice and the voice is unstable, it's unreliable, it lies to you all the time, don't you think that everybody else's voice is doing the same thing?
It could be.
Yeah. So then when you look outside for advice, people will only give you advice from their voice, from their experiences. And so the reality is that, as I say, the only person you can really look up to is the one that made the apple, because if we all have this unstable voice, then the world is unstable. And so for you, how have you made it stable? Do you still fear the voice of the repercussions as if you don't do what it says?
When it's really loud, yeah. It's like...
What's the worst that it can do to you? If it's just a voice, looking at it now, it's just a voice. And if you don't listen to the voice, not react, not listening to the voice, what's the worst it's going to do? Apart from give you a feeling. What else can it do?
Nothing.
There.
But it
feels. That's what you're going to say.
It feels that it's the end of the world.
Yeah. And so if you invite that feeling in and say, okay, now I can look at the thought, so they're not me, so I'm looking at it. There it's give me a feeling. You can equally look at the feeling and say, because the body can't see you, but you can see the body. So it's like, then who's looking out of your eyes? And the windows. And so when you look into if I say to you, there's your eyes and you see externally, then where's the internal eyes? Because if I ask you to look into your body, something then will go in there. Say, tell me how your stomach feels. Something then inside of you is going to go down and look at your stomach. Where's the eyes inside? Because I don't know anybody that's found eyes inside their body. So who is it that's going down and looking? And that's the separate you from the ego. This is a body-mind, but you're not.
It's like that, what I tried other day, because when I get the urge to binge with binge eating disorder, it just seems to come out of nowhere, that my mind goes from, the voice goes from counting calories, you can't have this, you can't have that, and then it's like a switch that goes, and it goes, give me food, I want food, I need food, and I will eat whatever is there, whether I like it or not, whether it's cooked or not, whether it's from the bin or not, if it's frozen or not. And if I can't do that, I can feel the aggression that I need to do that, and I need to get it done.
So it gives you the feeling to do it, and then what if you don't do it?
Well, that's what I didn't do the other day.
Right.
And I thought, I'm not going to act on it.
Yeah.
And the feelings that it gave me were, I felt so tense, I felt as if I wanted to punch something, and I was really quite aggressive and quite worked up with it and agitated and this and I...
So have you turned, ultimately what it is interned aggression, that your eating disorder is interned aggression on yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I say that you've become the masochist towards yourself, can you see how that's happening now?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you shine a light on that feeling, if you shine a light on the feeling and say bring it on, make it bigger, then you don't connect to it, you just watch it. So did you manage to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't binge.
And what happened to the feeling?
After a very, very long time,
okay,
I noticed it wasn't there anymore.
and
My mind were going,
yeah,
but the feeling had stopped, and I was like, look, my mind wants to do it, my mind wants to... So I were able, at first, it were all encompassing, like my body and my mind, but after a long time, my body calmed down, and I was able to look and say, oh look, the voice is still going on, it's still saying the same thing.
yeah. But can you see how that if the feeling goes, and it does whether you do what it says or not, yeah, so you can see that I'm not the feeling and I'm not the thought, because I'm the one that's calming it down. It's not going to calm itself down, it's still going. So when you do that and it leaves, what does it leave you with then? You know, right now when you say, well, I'm in that and it does all this and I fear the consequence, there isn't a consequence. So do you realise it's lied to you?
Yeah, and
right,
I think this is where I think my ego's coming in and going to argue, because I want to say, I'm glad about that with binging, and I can do that with binging, but when I'm in my not binging mode and it goes back to my anorexic mindset, there is a consequence because I will put on weight.
What if you just say okay to it then? Remember when I said that it's like creature over here? So if creature over here is saying that to you, you're going, okay, all right, you know, I'll leave that with you then. But the you who's not that, you're not going to do it. What if you just separate yourself from it? Yeah, just like you did when you said it's doing that.
Yeah.
So a creature over here is saying that, it's still muttering. There it's there's a feeling. Yeah, I can feel what it's feeling now, and I'm observing it because I'm an observer to it, and it's so attached to me. It feels like me, but it's not, and now I'm observing it. Yeah, so what if you do that and say...
I think I do, I just don't want to accept it. Right. And again, that's another weird thing, because like it might be, I'm not having dinner, I'm not having any dinner today,
now you're
I'm not having dinner, but then I have my dinner.
So you're in the ego again, you keep jumping in and out right now. Okay, so I just want you to stay with it's here. It's not you, it's here, yeah? And so you're over here. So if it's here and you're over here, how are you feeling? It wants to speak.
Yeah.
You think you're
it's jumping up. It's jumping up and down, going, I want to speak. I want to speak.
So you can see it jumping up and down, saying, I want to speak, but you're not. You're going to ignore it for a bit. Yeah. So I just want you to ignore it for a bit. Leave it there. Yeah. And if you leave it there, and all the chatter's left there, then what are you left with right now? You don't have to look for anything.
I don't know. I say I'm looking for it. I don't know. Nothing.
That's who you are. You're nothing. Yeah, you're not an object. You're not a label. You are nothing. If you were to remove your name and just be here, who are you? And just by that bit, you said nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah. You're not the chatter. You're not the one with an eating disorder. You're not any of that. It's over here. You've separated yourself from it. Do you need it? Do you need to do where it says right now from where you sat right now? Do you like being nothing?
Yeah.
Okay. What does it feel like to have just let that go? Just in this moment.
I don't know.
Okay.
It just feels quiet in my body and my mind.
Yeah, because when you were born, and you came into the world, you didn't tell anybody who you were because you're quiet, and everybody told you. And they told you who you were without actually getting to know who you are. Everybody tells everybody else, and we all live on labels. And we think, oh, I'm a this and I'm a that, and you're none of them, because we made the labels up anyway. So every human being is this. All the same, with no label. You can't even have the label not good enough, because you've been trying your best all your life to be not good enough, and it will never work. It's like a dog chasing its tail. It already has the tail. You are already good enough. So what do you feel about the chattering voice now?
It's sounds stupid with waving at me, going, ooh. Oh!
It's madness itself, isn't it? And that's why I say it's the schizophrenic voice. It's the madness itself.
Will I just get used to it, or will it stop saying these nasty things to me, or being obsessed with calories, or...
No, because it does where it says on the tin, so you don't want to fight it.
So it's up to me to ignore it.
Ignore it, yeah. So just like you did then, I'm just going to leave it there. It can chatter all it likes, I don't mind. Yeah, it can do whatever it wants. It's like somebody outside of yourself. They can chatter all they like, and I'm just going to stay inside. And if I stay inside and come away from the external society of saying, I need to find happiness, I need to look out there and get it, with all these objects and become a collector of objects on the planet. It's like you could collect all the objects on the planet that you like, And unless you deal with the inside, you will never be happy,
Mm.
because everything that's contained is inside. When you come to therapy, you don't bring everybody else from the outside in therapy and say, well, if they do what I want, I'll be okay. You bring you.
Yeah.
And where do we have to look?
Me.
We have to look at you inside, and we have to see, what are you carrying from the outside world that's troubling you? Because that's where you got it all from. And if that's where you got it, all the stuff that's troubling you from, then the thing that doesn't trouble you must be then we need to look inside to ask you who you are then. So the outside world is your prisoner, and it's then being recorded in here, and it keeps you doing things that it wants you to do. But it doesn't really want you to do it. It's just a recording.
Mm.
And everybody's going round in effect like this, listening to their little recording. And, oh yes, I'll do that, I'll go do that. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll go do that. And that's what it does. And nobody likes doing it, unless it tells them to do something nice. Or unless it wants to stroke itself and says, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at how gorgeous you are. Everybody thinks that you're gorgeous. And it will tell you all kinds of things. And you can see people doing what their ego's telling them to do to stroke itself. How do you feel after that?
A bit confused, but I understand it, but it's a very different experience to what I've been used to all my life.
Because
it
is a different, it is different to what you've been used to all your life. Because, you know, if you've been programmed with this since you were born, and so if somebody then comes along and says, you know, that's all a made up thing.
Yeah.
Everything that human beings have made up, it's like nature. When you look at nature, it's kind of your evidence. It's like trees live for hundreds of years, and every leaf that grows on a tree is as fresh as a daisy. You never see an old leaf all grey and wrinkly. You never see a wrinkly old bear, you know, that's grey. You never see a fully grey lion that's old. But yet, that's what happens to us because of our ego.
Interesting.
Very, yeah. Are you okay to
Yeah.
Good.